by one. Sheesh. I got a massive lag. Where's the latency thing? How do I change the latency on this? Latency's running. Right, everyone's back. Yay! Okay. You come back in. Right then, Zav, do you want to play us in? Okay. With a Welsh song to start the show. He's been standing there for a while now. Fair play. Come on in, Zav. Where you going? Dancing around? We need to see you. Okay, you stand still. Can you face forward a bit, Mo? Put that there. I want to see his face. Go on, off you go, Zav. Give people a chance to log in. Here we go.
Yeah. I can't see you. What should I do?
There you go. All right. Come on, I'll do better than that. Start. Hey, well done, Zav. There you go. And that is Adele in there with the new harp. All right. Thank you very much, Zavi. You are a slightly different start to the show this week. We've promised live music. We'll have Arnie on later playing. I don't know what he's going to play. Oh, yeah, a bit of something Christmas anyway. Better than me with the trumpet. Thank you, William. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. It's so annoying. You get everything set up. We're all good to go. I was actually ready early for once. Everything's set up, and then the microphone just stopped working, and I have no idea why, and I have no idea why it started again, so there we go. Anyway, we've got some good stuff this week, which now I have to check the desk microphone's also working. I'm not going to suddenly cut everything out, because I'm not hearing any desk audio now. I'm just going to play something quickly, because I want to show a video. I'll tell you what, why don't we just go straight into the video of... I'm going to do, first of all, as you've seen on the title page, which probably didn't work, the main things tonight are my cousin Neil has this fantastic book, which I am dipping into. There's this old school book. There's nothing really on the cover. And what this is let's get the proper title, is the Rambles and Studies in Old South Wales. And this was written, published 1881, so it's before then, and it's fascinating. So a couple of stories from there. And, sorry, Merry Christmas to everybody, I almost forgot. Merry Christmas, season's greeting, Happy New Year. I'll show the video that I shot down at the place where the story is, that either Jesus or son of Jesus is buried, where Yessie is buried. So we went down there for dawn, on the dawn of the new era, which, as you know, is the 21st, where we left Pisces and we came into Aquarius, and boy did we come into Aquarius. Can you come around here, because I can't see any comments at the moment. My screen's not working. And then another one we got here, which is fantastic, for get a Christmassy feel going. Neil's got some brilliant books here about, and Claire as well. This is the Welsh Fairy book. Now, a few years ago, I'd have been the first to knock this and say, what a load of rubbish, it's all fairy tales. Literally, it's fairy tales. But what you find is a lot of historical evidence and stories are very serious, hidden. Well, not even hidden, they're just in the fairy tales. It's just a way of keeping that oral tradition and memories alive. And the other thing we're going to do, I'm going to bring you straight on, Angie, because the timing's all messed up now. When we do hieroglyphs, and I'm going to bring this on screen and see if I can get a screen share to it. There's so much. I'm so glad that people hung around for this week's show, because a lot of work went to this week's. And we got so many things. Now, if you are not aware... Right, let's see if the screen share works. Come on. Okay, the hot buttons aren't working, so I have to jump around like this, which is going to be a real pain. Right, hopefully you can see this nicely on your screen now. This is the chapter 1 from the new Hieroglyphics book, okay? How hieroglyphics work, because the second edition's coming out. And if you've never done reading hieroglyphics using Welsh, it really is easy. And I think my first book covered everything, but it still didn't make it easy enough, because it really is that easy. And it's a little Christmas treat. So what I'm going to do, the game works on you say what you see, but it's in Welsh, okay? And that's all it is. So if you think of an English example, for the technical people out there, this is called the rebus principle. There, you've got the, if you can see on screen, nice and clear, good, you can see on Arnie's screen. I, heart, and that's a female sheep. You can see the letters. So I love you, all right? If you're playing a game of Pictionary and the sentence came up, I love you, you might draw it like that, all right? Hieroglyphs are exactly the same, only use Welsh as the language. You can read this, free preview if you like, of the new book. And what you'll find is this little symbol here, this little sort of semicircle, all right, is people wonder for ages, where on earth does this symbol come from? What does it mean? Semicircle or something, okay? Now, it turns out, if you go to... Now, do I show the picture, or do we just wait? I think we'll just wait, because we're going to try something live at enormous risk. And all the pressure is on Angie. Because what this shape is the shape of the old cake, the Welsh cake called the Titian Lap. And you can look it up, or we found a recipe. And for a couple of months now, Angie's been baking these. And it's super delicious.
I'll give you a drum roll.
And you can see, oh, hang on, Angie's going to give me a drum roll in a second. All right, get ready. So you get that shape that you see here. And the first two letters of Titian Lap, Titian, T-T-T. So T in Welsh is you are, or that is. So whenever you see that little symbol there, it means T as in you are. So Angie, very bravely, is going to cook one live on the show. It's not going to be a cookery show. Angie, just tell us quickly, what goes into the Titian Lap? Do you want to just come down to the... Hang on, I'll make it so you can see yourself on the screen, hopefully. And we go full screen. No, that's not working.
You don't need to do the full screen. It's okay.
Come on, Angie, everyone wants to see you. Come on, there we go.
All right.
Well, just talk into the microphone anyway. There we go.
Hi, everyone. Okay, we need about 300 grams of the plain flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 150 to 200 each lard and butter, some sugar, and just mix them all together. Oh yes, most important, you need to beat 3 big large eggs, and then just mix them all together, and then you can see like this.
Here we go. Look at this. It's like a cookery. Look at this, like a proper TV show, yeah.
Then this
Look
is,
at that.
can
Tilt
I
that
see?
forward a bit. Hang on.
No, it can become
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's a doll like this, right? Then you can just pile it up like a little hill mountain.
Oops, sorry, yeah. So you can pile it up like a hill or mountain if you didn't quite hear that. So Angie's now going to put that in the oven. Was it 170 degrees, Ange?
Yes, it's 180 for 20 minutes and 170. Okay,
All right.
180 for 20 minutes, and then turn down to 170 for 40 minutes. So, which means 1 hour later, we should have a very delicious Titian Lap.
Right, so we'll set the timer. And the idea is, in an hour's time, it's going to go beep, 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 and then we'll have a lovely Titian Lap. And you can see... Oh, I haven't got my Christmas hat on either. This must be the Christmas special. That microphone freaked me out. I need to get the drum roll from you either, aren't? Say hello.
I did do a drum roll, you couldn't hear it on the mic, and you couldn't hear it.
Because I was too busy talking. All right, anyway, okay, so we'll come back to that, all right? I had to get that in first because it was going to take an hour to cook. So, are you all right, Angie?
Yeah, I'm setting a timer.
Setting the timer, right. So when it goes beep, 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 that means... Thanks, Arnie. I got my stripy top on and everything. I was really getting in the festive mood. We've had a great Christmas, all right? Oh, yeah. So this was the bit, it's before Christmas now, where it got a bit savage. That's not a very nice way of putting it. The elements, it's the beginning of the age of Aquarius, right? So, let's go to... Come on, what have I done with it? Videos. I had this already... I'll just keep talking and pretend I'm not frantically clicking now to find where the video's gone. Alright. And Yes, here it is. Fantastic. Bendigedig. Hang on. We're boiling a kettle as well now. Right, 4.5 second lag. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to flick this over so we can now watch. It's annoying I can't hide all this mechanics that you're not meant to see, but there we go.
End of an era, it's the beginning of an era. It's the end of Pisces, start of Aquarius. So where better place to be as dawn comes up on the first day when you epoch.
See me doing that. Let's go back to the beginning.
Here. So it's the end of an era, it's the beginning of an era. It's the end of Pisces, start of Aquarius. So where better place to be as dawn comes up on the first day when you epoch. And here, said to be the burial place of Yesi, Jesus. A fish sign used by Christians last 2,000 years. And it seems kind of apt in a way that it's wet. The clouds full of water. And there's the sea. It's almost greying out. Let me show how much of the cliffs you can see. As water in Aquarius slowly takes over from Pisces. Very dramatic, it's quite emotional. Here's the boat-shaped grave. Yeah, I'm sorry it's been difficult to keep the camera lens dry, but it's that kind of day. It's just water. This is the start of Aquarius, is it? Across. I'm hoping you can see the sea down there. It's an absolutely stunning place. It is very spiritual and emotional. So I come up here and meditate next to these rocks. Then you got other significant two other sites here. You could say it's 3. So these are the 2 pillars. My boys there said I'd seen an arrow or something on that.
I found some straight cracks in it. I don't know if this is something.
Leave some markings there.
Oh, that point.
Okay, let's take a proper look at this. Yeah, I'm sure there's arrows in the markings somewhere. Very hard to see now.
Yeah, I see it there.
It's got a quartzy feel. I'm sure there's a lot of positive energy.
Let me see.
So we can see it from all angles. Folks.
Oh, it's 2 lines, then it goes out into a triangle.
Ah, that
Looks like an arrow.
That could be the llawen sign. Let's have a look. It points out to me.
No, you're pointing in the wrong place. It's only 3 on.
Oh, here we go. That's it. Oh, it could be.
No.
Nope, I can't see past your head now.
It's up like that.
And there's the llawen, there's the 3 lines, could be, well spotted,
And
very
up
good
here.
spot.
I haven't found any other cracks like this on the sides. And these look kind
I think that might be a marking as well, yeah?
interesting, yeah.
It is very interesting.
But it might be on its side, or it might have been bigger, because this looks like it's been cut off from another rock or something.
Yeah, I think that the one you point out, the one that forms almost an arrow. That could be the llawen sign. There's one up here somewhere.
What does that mean?
The llawen is the original, supposed to be the oldest word we have for God. And it's the first symbol that forms the basis of the cauldron.
Oh, isn't it like?
And it's also the little thing you see. Here, go on.
Isn't it like the guy where it's like a line?
No, 3 like that. It's like an upside down Welsh
Oh,
feathers. Makes me always think.
Which one was the one with like a circle, the hieroglyph with like a circle on his head and he's like that?
Oh, that's Yank, the life one. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. Yeah, the llawen sign is like a sort of 3 like that. And it's supposed to be the first 3 sounds, the first 3 strokes that form the name of God, the word. That's the llawen. Or the spirit, you know, arwen, there's similar words. They just seem to be marked on that stone there. It's a shame we haven't put the sun out and see more, but again, it is appropriate for Aquarius.
Yeah, so this is
Oh, we're all having a good fall.
We used to always think it was the internet going there.
Hello. Yeah, there we go. Sorry, it's back on again. I don't know what happened there.
OBS confused.
I'm sorry about that.
OBS couldn't-
I'll try the video again. Let's hope this... I'm sorry about that. I was showing... here's your hand. Alright, the idea of showing the video is just to give a background to the story. Let's see if the microphone still works while I'm doing this. Yes, these both working together now. Okay, just the views from... thanks for bearing with me then. Dinas Island. Can you hear me now? Yep. I was going to say, for those who are new to the... wondering what's going on here, what we're talking about, the possible burial place of the SC, of Jesus. The background of it is that the Saint of Wales is Dewi. So you've got Dydd Dewi Sant, okay? Now Dewi gets casually translated to David, but actually David is the translation of David. And David is a different name. That's a different name. So Dewi, you've got Dew, which is God, and he is the one with God. And this place, with all the stuff's in the new book, which will be out very soon, shows you this is the place where the one who is with God is buried. And that's the site, okay? So it's a very interesting thing, and we find stacks more information in the book and background as to where these references come from. Turn the video off now, is it? And you can't see it because I've got it on the screen. Hang on. Because I'm stupid. There you go. Sorry about that. Here's down to the beach. Right. Okay, just show the last little bit because it's very dramatic scenery there. Now you can't hear me. The video's so loud. Alright, I can turn that down. Okay. I will turn the desktop audio right down. And hopefully you can now hear me and hear the video. There you go, some views. We thought we were tough, and my boy's going up there at dawn in shorts. If you follow this bit of camera footage here, look at that. There's someone going in the water. Middle of December at dawn, freezing cold, and no problems at all. I did have a chat with her afterwards. Fair play to her. She says it's really good for arthritis. So in there with arthritis, is prepared to jump in the freezing cold water. Yeah, so the story is then, local legends are, this is the burial site. It used to be an island, and Alan Wilson was near this place. It is mentioned in the books, and the references, and now it's going to be all brought together in this one big book. Now, with it being the change of epoch, with the change going from Pisces to Aquarius, it seemed the place to be for the new... so I hope everyone saw the... Cause on Christmas Eve, the skies in South Wales, anyway, opened up beautifully. And you could really see what they call the Christmas star, which is actually the conjunction there of Jupiter and Saturn. And it formed this, what looked like a very bright, twinkling sort of Christmas star. And also where I was, and very difficult to photograph from my bedroom window, but my bedroom looks out across the Garth Mountain, and above it was the most perfect rendition I've ever seen of Orion. And if you look at the star mounds, the three mounds on the Garth are said to represent, the belt of Orion. And there it was, from my bedroom, above the Garth, with the three stars, and you can see the whole constellation of Orion, something I'd never paid any attention to years ago, so I started doing all this kind of thing. And then across from it, you can see this beautiful, bright Jesus star, or Christmas star. So it's been quite an interesting time with all the everything that's been going on, the epoch changes. Of course, we've got this crazy world of... it's a bit loud again, isn't it? Let's turn that down. Oh, there we go. Hang on. Then we've got this, all these lockdowns and restrictions and that. So I know people all around the world love to see this footage at different places and how green it is. And as I always say, you want to know why it's so beep beep green in Wales? It's because it's always beep beep raining. That's why it's always so beep green, alright? So here we go. So this is the beach down there, which is fantastic. And you can see the boys totally oblivious to cold, it seems. I'm making a run for the car to get the heater on. But they're down there, hardy souls with Claire, on the beach, collecting seaweed, and there's a couple of, interestingly, a couple of cormorants as well, which is if you go back to last week, when we were talking about the sea crows. Well, there they were on the beach, and I couldn't quite get there in time with my camera. But, if I said we had technical issues, you'd never believe it of me. So there we go. This is a little stream at the bottom. And in a normal world, this would be the place where you could stay and have a nice warm drink, something to eat, or a pint or something like that. And there's a path up there, and it's just there. This could be the most important site in the world. In the world. Imagine how many millions and millions of pilgrims would want to come and see the grave of Jesus. Well, obviously you have to go back to the original form of Christianity, where we look at, where this sort of the cult of Jesus hadn't really started then. He was the teacher, he was the missionary, he brought the message. And one of the problems Alan Wilson's always goes on about is we have to stop being so obsessed with the messenger and whether or not he performed miracles and did whatever he did and whether or not he's the son of God and this kind of thing, and look more at the message and the message that he brought. And the original Christianity was very different. So he didn't have these sort of ideas of the organised church with bishops and heaven and hell and penances and all that kind of stuff. So there we are, controversial area for Christmas of all times. But the other thing to mention, just we're on the subject, are we still on board? Everyone's still on board?
Yeah, we still hear you.
Yeah, we still doing okay, still hear me, okay. I have to waffled on earlier, no one could hear me. Twice. Right, so there is another curious little story I want to throw in, which you're probably aware of, the regulars are, is when was the birth of Jesus? And I'm mentioning this because another book that'll be coming out later next year from unpublished work by Wilson and Blackett starts to explain things like the nativity scene, why you've got shepherds, why it's in a stable, all that. It's all very symbolic, and it slaps you in the face once you've read it, and I never realised it. But one of the points I want to mention right now, without giving anything away, is that the scene is a spring scene. You always talk about lambs and things like that, and it would have seemed to be a spring scene rather than a winter scene, which, as we know, Christmas was moved to the middle of December to fit the midwinter festivals, the dying of the sun and Saturnalia and all those kind of things that were going on, and that's why it was moved. So what we do have instead is a spring birth and a spring celebration. That can't be an hour. Oh, no, I have to turn it down, beep. So then, now if you go to the most likely spring date, this is when we get to March the 1st. And March the 1st is the National Saint Day of Wales. What's called St. David's Day, but it's Dydd Dewi Sant. So you can make a very strong argument to say that Christmas Day, the birth of Iesu or Jesus, is actually March the 1st, not December 25th, the old Saturnalian Death of the Sun festival. And March the 1st should be your day. And when Wales have as their patron saint, they don't have David at all. They actually have Iesu, Jesus, the patron saint of Wales. So there, I thought that's a very interesting thing to throw in. So I hope people enjoyed that one. Right, now a couple of smaller sort of announcement type things to say. Hang on, I'm getting piled up here with my stuff and these big heavy old books, which are absolutely fantastic. Now one note I've written here is thank you very much to Hugh Evans. Where's Hugh's book, Ange? He's also got a new book he's written, which I'll give you a little flash and we'll come back to it in a few weeks. And it's going to be launched soon. And this is all about star maps in mid-Wales, North Wales. So I shall show you the cover. Dunk, dunk, dunk. He's given me a pre-release copy to have a look through and review. And there's some amazing stuff in there. It really is fantastic. So we're looking forward to more about that soon, okay? And he did quite rightly point out to me that when I gave the 4 colours that's in all the coding that you get in the British history, they use 4 colours to show direction, and I got them wrong way round. And now I haven't got my notes in front of me which round they are, so let's hope I don't get them wrong again. Now the easy one is north is black. Alright? So as Hugh said, this could be where we get the Black Mountains from. If you think about where the people were, the sea above them was the Black Sea. So whenever you see the or black, it's not because those mountains actually are black, it's because they're in the north. So in the north of what would have been the sort of Glamorgan Empire. And north of where they were in Anatolia would be the Black Sea, alright? Now, to the east is red. I got to do some memory now. I think to the west is yellow, and the south it's got to be white. I have to double check that. Because usually I have a little chart up just to remind me. But anyway, this is very important when you're looking at place names. And you're looking at descriptions of directions, they use these colours, okay? Just a small thing there, so thank you for the correction. And also next week, I'm going to show you, I'm going to do it tonight, but everything's a bit crazy. One of our members, Dixie, has started making these wonderful hand-carved slates, which are just brilliant. He's given me one there with a Welsh dragon on it, which I'm going to be placing up on the wall, getting that fixed, and you'll be able to see it properly in its glory. And I'll do a full mention of that next week, all right? So in the meantime, if you're on the Facebook group, you've seen Dixie, and hopefully he's going to have some sort of connection system to... so really thank you for that Christmas present. Also got brilliant William... No, his name is William Jabinville, I believe, but he comes differently on... I noticed his name coming up on here. Where is William... William Juby, that's right. On it's just abbreviated his surname. And he sent the most fantastic present, which is an absolute mountain of Playmobil, knights, castles, all that kind of stuff. And they are brilliant for the boys, fantastic. And what we're going to do there is use them to make some stop motion, as well as play with them and have great fun with them, make some stop motion footage of the Arthur stories. So that's going to be good fun.
Yeah, he's going to make some stop motioning.
Oh, yep, some stop motioning as Arnie's talking over to the side there. Yep, that'd be great, wouldn't it? Looking forward to that. Okay, so want to mention that. A special thank you. I mean, this is a collection which William and his brothers made over years and years, and they played together as three boys. And so we got three boys, and wanted to hand them over, and it's been really, really touching. And it's like our star present this Christmas. And William sent some lovely messages as well. So thank you very much for that. And a coin, a historic coin from America, from to remember the Alamo. Okay, so we'll go through that. Right, also, I noticed on the comments, when we were putting the baking in, we've got Johnny Nigma there, was saying that he knows how to make Arthur's biscuits. So Johnny, you've got to send me that recipe. Maybe we'll try that one next time, okay? Angie's looking very confident about the Titian lap. This can actually rise. And this little spludge is going to end up as the right shape. Oh, hang on, you have to talk to the mic on. Yeah, Tiara, move the microphone. Go on, yeah.
So there is an idea that we could possibly do, maybe just maybe a one-off thing, but it would be quite fun to do a BHH bake-off with the team.
A BHH, yes, that's new to me, that idea. Don't get me baking off live. It's a miracle if anything I cook comes right. It would be fun, yes, okay. So we have a bake-off. Perhaps we'll get Joy Nigma to do Arthur's biscuits. Angie can do Titian lap, and someone else can do something suitable. Anyway, I'm rambling on. I hope you enjoyed that video shot. If you've never seen it before, it's a wonderful place to visit, and I highly recommend it. Now, on to the next thing here, which is something I want to point out. This is a book written by an American, right? This Rambles and Studies in Old South Wales. It was published in 1881. So you'd imagine there's a lot of content. He must have been doing these walks and everything around Wales, South Wales. Excuse me, in the 1870s. But the first thing, and it's a wonderful writer, right? This book was reprinted in 1973. You can get copies. And his name, the author is Wirt Sykes. What a great name. W-I-R-T S-I-K-E-S. Sorry, S-I-K-E-S. Rambles and Studies in Old South Wales. So I'll try and put a couple of links up to eBay and stuff. I want to go right back to the beginning of this, okay? And this book, he talks about walking around, how much he loved South Wales, enjoyed it, the history and everything. What I want to just point out on here is that when he went to he came from Washington, okay, and he's a well-educated person. And the point he makes here is, until I wrote, I'm quoting directly from the book, and I'm reading from the book. Until I wrote these great disseminators of intelligence among the Americans... Basically, until he wrote something, the big titles of the day, the periodicals like Scribner's and Libbingcott's, had written nothing. Right, so now I quote from the book. Before coming to South Wales to reside, I sought long and fruitlessly among the booksellers of New York and Philadelphia for any volume descriptive of South Wales and its people. There was none. Even in the Congressional Library at Washington could be found nothing but an obsolete work of the last century. Volumes there were in abundance, relating to almost every other part of the world accessible to the American summer tourist. volumes describing the remotest regions of France and Italy, Germany and Switzerland, telling the traveller where to go in England, in Scotland and in Ireland, in search of the picturesque, full of information concerning the storied streams of Europe, from the Thames to the Rhine, but none descriptive of that interesting region, which for centuries was the bloody battleground of the wild Cymry, and is studied all over with the ivy-hung ruins of their strong castles, as picturesque as any that lift their broken towers on the Rhine. None illustrating the exquisite scenery and the weird romantic ground through which run the storied waters of the Usk and the Wye, the Severn and the Taff. Even in England, according to the best evidence I have been able to obtain, information regarding this portion of the Principality is hardly more generally diffused. North Wales is pretty well known, but South Wales is terra incognita to most Englishmen. To, quotes, bury oneself in some remote village of South Wales, close quotes, appears to be a Londoner's strongest expression of complete isolation from the world. Yet the most remote of these villages is nearer than Australia or the Society Islands. In point of fact, there is not a village mentioned in these pages which may not be reached within 10 hours from London. It's probably about 3 hours these days, or 4 hours. And a very pleasant experience would it be to many a Londoner with a true love for rural beauty in his soul, were he to visit one or two of the towns and villages of old South Wales for a summer ramble. So there you go. Even back in the 1880s, for some bizarre reason, this part of Britain, where it's absolutely packed with history, the most castles per square mile than anywhere else on earth, the things we cover week after week here, this hidden history, right back to biblical times, migrations, their Arthur stories, all this amazing amount of information, the places you can still visit and see, the stone circles, the scenery, none of it mentioned, even back in the 1880s. It's weird. This ongoing suppression of this area's history has gone on for hundreds and hundreds of years, and anybody has to think why. We're relying here on someone from America writing about things that we should know about, and there's some wonderful things here. And one of the things he mentions a lot throughout the book is how amazed he is how well informed the Welsh people are. This is something which has probably gone backwards. And he says there's a passage where he's talking to a person in Merthyr, and he says he looks like someone who wouldn't be concerned with anything beyond bread and beer. Just some local rough lad, But as soon as he got starting to him, he knows all about the history. He wants to take him round. He offers him a few pence for a tour, and he's just amazed how they know their history. And the other thing he points out is that in all the poorest areas, Merthyr, Caerphilly, places like that, the people could read. They could read Welsh, though. They couldn't read English. And this is where the cruelty comes in, because, of course, the Welsh materials were removed and made inaccessible. It was illegal to print in Welsh. So you've got a population that can read and write in a language that it's illegal, effectively, to read and write in. So it's all part of this long, ongoing campaign. And then, of course, once the 1920s and 30s and the BBC and things like that, the history just disappeared. But the history is there. And I'm very grateful to Neil for this. What you have to do is look back, and sometimes you have to find ancient... I'll just give some examples here. You have to go to... Like, this is an American traveller, okay? And his drawings, and I'm not commissioned for signing this book or anything, all right? It's nothing to do with me. It's just got information that is worth exploring. And one thing struck me as interesting was coming up to the river, the Castle Cork, for example. So if you know it, there's this very sort of medieval type castle. It's actually not. It's quite recently built. And he was travelling before it was built. And so he says, charming is... It's wonderfully written, this book. That's the big thing about it. It's lovely. So, charming is the ramble from Cardiff to Merthyr, along the roads and byways which follow the river Taff, now on one bank, now on the other, through a country rich in interest. On the brow of a steep rocky eminence 5 miles from Cardiff stands the crumbling ruin of that Castle Coch, the Red Castle, which is said to have been connected with Cardiff Castle by a subterranean passage. It was built by the ancient Britons, not Romans or Normans or anything like that. It was built by the ancient Britons as a stronghold for guarding the pass of Taff Vale, and the wild band of Iverbach long made it their home. So, it says here, after his day, the Normans occupied it. So much, much, much later, Normans occupied it. But the point is, it was a British castle. Another thing I'm going to do another big feature on soon, I did one ages ago, is Fortress Glamorgan, where what you could do, you would look at how this whole area was guarded from invasion. So from the north and that, you've got the mountain ranges, and you have to come down through the passes, through the riverbeds, and each of those are guarded by castles. So you can see how this ring of castles defends the county. Within that, like the hubs for the spokes of the wheel, you've got the capital towns, so anyone can be connected and supported. And then on the south coast, you've got mostly cliffs on the south coast of the Vale, and where there's gaps in the river entries, you've got castles. And then east of Cardiff, Newport, you've got river crossings you have to make. And it's more difficult terrain to defend because it's flat and open. So there's different strategies are used to defend that as well, focused around the river crossings and movement. So this, you can see it there. The physical evidence is still there. Sometimes you have to go to old books to find references to it. So that's one I want to mention there. And one I want to go on to as well in a moment is about the... Sorry, it's one I want to... So you can read all here about Cardiff Castles, Llandaff Cathedral, Caerphilly Castle, Abergavenny, Usk Castles. And then there's stories in there. Caerleon. It's brilliant. There's so many good stories. Where's the one I want to talk about as well? Tintern Abbey as well, there you can see more about the history, and all this ties into Welsh history. But like you said, this book is an absolute treasure. And I think, Angie, is this the one that was being reprinted by the British Library? Is it this one, The Ramblings? Or was it the other one? Anyway, this is of serious historical importance. And I've ordered myself a copy as well, and I do a more detailed look at some of the stories in there. Because, like I was saying, there's nothing else from that era was printed about Wales. It's bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. You have to rely on walking books and tours and things like that, of which there are some. So we're trying to get a few more of those together, and we'll talk more about that. Right, now another one. This is quite old, and is... it is that one, right? Thank you. Yeah, this has been reprinted again, 2011, by the British Museum, which is the British Library, also the same thing. Yeah. So I'm quite curious about that one because so what I've done is order both. I've become suspicious in my old age, and I just want to check that they are the same. So I'm going to do in a few weeks' time. I'll just, when they both arrived, hopefully they'll arrive soon. I'll read them quickly, and I'll make one of them available then as a sort of viewer offer or something like that. So I won't need to keep two, because hopefully they'll be exactly the same, and I won't need to keep two, will I? There we are, so we'll have a look at that. Now, this is another old book. Look at this, it's beautiful. I'm going to handle this very carefully. This is the Welsh Fairy Book. Look at that, fantastic. By Jenkin Thomas, 1908. Amazing, and it's one of these books where the stock, the paper they've used is like chunky. It's almost like cardboard. It's fantastic. And throughout, there's all these illuminated scripts and wonderful pictures. Let me show some pictures. I know there's one at the start. That's the easiest to find. And this kind of thing. Absolutely stunning. And if you notice, the clever thing here, of course, you can see Angie pointed this out to me. You can see the reflection of the horse and the rider, but there's no reflection for the fairy folk. They don't leave her. Now this chap has also written a book called, I'll have to show you that one next week, as you a minute ago, A Guide to Goblins. Can you see it? Yep, here we are. This is a reprint again. Fair play to Neil's and good research on this. So British goblins, Welsh folklore, fairy mythology, legends and traditions. The same guy, you notice, Wirt Sykes, who did the Rambling book. So he really got into British culture and heritage, and thank goodness he did. Because I think these books originally probably published in America for tourists coming over. And thank goodness, because that's the only stuff we've got. Now, the reason I want to mention this, Christmas is a good time to mention it as well, but this is the kind of thing I've always scoffed at, alright? A bit snooty, quite academic, booky kind of person, blinking goblins and fairy tales, load of nonsense, right? This is history hidden. This is hidden history in here. These stories aren't just written for fun of it. And one of the things which, as you know, if you've read the book Discover the Ark of the Covenant, Wilson and Blackett, and Hugh Evans has done more progress and research on this in his writing, is that the Mabinogi, for instance, the Mabinogi is, became disguised as the Mabinogion and was then passed on as children's stories, whereas originally it was not children's stories at all. This is the original British history, wrapped up, hidden, so that so it could persevere, so it could survive. And it's very, very, very ancient. And what fascinates me about it, I've lost my page now. Hang on, I'm just going to have to get my page out of here. Is that some of the stories, the first part of the Mabinogion goes right back to the creation of the world, you see. So it goes right back to that. And the other thing which I wanted to mention while I was talking about this Rambling book is within there, the history of Arthur and everything is quite accepted. And another thing which I will come back to, so I want to do another video about it, is when he's talking there about Caerleon, the amphitheatre and things like that, there it's talked about by Arthur, because this is before the 1930s when Woolley did his archaeology, and before he'd even put a spade in the ground, and he'd left to take up his job in London and left the archaeology to his wife. He decided it was Roman. It wasn't considered that before it. And the funding was given to him on the basis that they were looking for Arthur's Round Table. And suddenly it became an amphitheatre. So all that's very controversial. And it's interesting to look at books written before that excavation to find out about it. So in his adventures, this book is just full of amazing stories. Wonderful stories. Lady of the Lake, Arthur in the Cave, The Curse of the Pantanars. Now, what I want to read quickly, the first one, is why the red dragon is the emblem of Wales. Now, I think we all probably know the story roughly of the two dragons fighting under the tower. But there's a bit more to it in this old version, so I just want to share with you. Look at that. That's the way you lay out a page of a book, isn't it? Isn't that beautiful? Look at that. It's like it's only short, it's only a couple of pages, so bear with me, please. Whoa! That's what happened there. I just touched the keyboard. Sorry about that. Right, so we got... because what it also does is throw in some extra bits of history which people seem to be very aware of in the old days, and we're not anymore. So, after the treachery of the Long Knives... See the treachery of the Long Knives immediately. History. King Vortigern called together his 12 wise men and asked what he should do. They said to him, "Retire to the remote boundaries of your kingdom, and there build and fortify a city to defend yourself. The Saxon people you have received are treacherous, and they are seeking to subdue you by guile. Even during your life, they will, if they can, seize upon all the countries which are subject to your power. How much more will they attempt it after your death?" The king was pleased with this advice, and departing with his wise men, travelled through many parts of his territories in search of a convenient place for building a citadel. Far and wide they travelled, but nowhere could they find a suitable place, until they came to the mountains of Ely in Gwynedd. On the summit of one of these, which was then called Dinas Ferion, now this, Dinas Ferion, this little Egyptian connection drop in here, there's the word there, Pharaon, which is the same root, or the same word more or less, as Pharaoh. It's another one of those words which, I was going to stick some of these in the Hieroglyphics book, because it's not really Hieroglyphics, it's just observing what experts say words are, and how they match with the Welsh. Alright, so you can have a little read for yourself, okay. Like they talk about Mart being the Pharaoh's power, meth in Welsh is nourishment. So anyway, we'll come on to that another time. I just want to give an idea, and this is going to be available as part of the greeting card set. All right, and that's why I've drawn this. I've drawn the mummy and everything, and we'll make a nice cards. So now I've managed to distract everybody from the story. Well, I don't want to mention that. Right. So the mountain was previously called Dinas Ferion, which is interesting. They discovered a fine place to build a fortress. The wise men said to the king, "Build here a city, for in this place you will be secure against the barbarians." Then the king sent for artificers, carpenters and stonemasons, thank you, Arnie, and collected all the materials for building. In the night, however, the whole of these disappeared, and by morning nothing remained of what had been provided. Materials were procured from all parts a second time, but a second time they disappeared in the night. A third time everything was brought together for building, but by morning again not a trace of them remained. Vortigern called his wise men together and asked them the cause of this marvel. They replied, "You must find a child born without a father, put him to death, and sprinkle with his blood the ground in which the citadel is to be built, or you will never accomplish your purpose." I can't help wonder if there's some sort of Christian analogy going on there or something. Anyway, they did not appear. This did not appear such strange advice to King Vortigern as it does to us. In olden times, there were very cruel practices in connection with building. Sometimes a human victim was sacrificed in order that... And it goes on to all about this. Actually, this is a bit long there. I read it to myself, it's quite quick. But anyway, the point of the story then was that the boy said, "Under the tower there is a pool. Come and dig." And your advisors know nothing about it.
Story.
Yes, you recognise the story now.
Yeah, I know the story.
And of course he questions and he says, "What does your wise men say is under it?" They don't know, and he tells them. And as they come down, they have to confess their ignorance. But what they do, they find the pool is the emblem. Right, this is the bit which doesn't always get mentioned, okay? Then the boy asked the wise men what was signified by this wonderful omen. And the omen is, you got the red dragon, or serpent, or white dragon, in a bowl. And this is how he explains it. So the boy asked the wise men what was signified by this wonderful omen, but they again had to confess their ignorance. "I will now," said he to the king, "unfold you the meaning of this mystery. The pool is the emblem of this world, and the tent," and they built a tent inside, "is that of your kingdom. The two serpents are two dragons. The red serpent is your dragon, but the white serpent is the dragon of the Saxons, who occupy several provinces and districts of Britain, even almost from sea to sea. At length, however, our people will rise and drive the Saxon race beyond the sea whence they have come. But do you depart from this place where you are not permitted to erect a citadel? You must seek another spot for laying your foundations." So the boy's life was spared, so he killed all the advisors. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'll tell you that. I'll finish the rest of it. Go on. Vortigern, perceiving the ignorance and deceit of the magicians, ordered them to be put to death, and their graves were dug in a neighbouring field. The boy's life was spared. He became known to fame afterwards as the great magician Myrddin Emrys, or Merlin as he's called in English. And the mountain on which he proved his mighty power was called in after time Dinas Emrys, instead of Dinas Ferion. He remained in the Dinas for a long time until he was joined by Aurelius Ambrosius, who persuaded him to go away with him. When they were about to set out, Myrddin placed all his treasures in a golden cauldron and hid it in a cave. On the north of the cave he rolled a huge stone, which he covered up with earth and built and green turf, so that it was impossible for anyone to find it. This wealth he intended to be the property of some special person in a future generation. This heir is to be a youth with yellow hair and blue eyes, and when he comes to Dinas, a bell will ring to invite him into the cave, which will open out of its own accord as soon as his foot touches it. These stories are great, eh? Don't tell stories like that anymore. Want to get some comments there on? I think people are writing this.
Talking about Hugh Evans' Star Map Zodiac.
Ah, right, yeah. So there's loads here, but there's another one I think, plus we've got enough time. But there's a wonderful one in here all about Ed, Arnie, you should play us out, Arnie. Arnie's good to go with his violin, but we'll have the Titian lap and everything. The big climax. So what we have here is there's another story in here describing how parts of Wales drowned, and you get the famous old tale, the Bells of Aberdyfi, when a whole chunk of West Wales sank into the sea. And there's a story about the person who's supposed to guard the walls that keep the water out, that kind of thing. So these stories are actually ram-jammed with history, are well worth reading. And I have been convinced to not stop scoffing them and start reading them. Now, one I want to cover, yes. One is, this actually gets referenced in the Wandering book as well. But one I particularly want to pick out right at the back of the book. So this book is not any sort of chronological order that I can work out. Is the story of Hugh Gadan. Look at this. And the reason I'm mentioning all these stories, by the way, is partly because they're... Oh, this cake smells great, Angie. Angie's asking if the cake's smelling alright. So you get a bit nervous now. I'm not looking quite so confident. Oh, no, I was looking confident. The Titian lap's going to be fine. There is that a lot of the things which we bring it out on the Britain's Hidden History group, and I talk about a lot on this show, people think just making this stuff up, or just inventing it, or it's come from nowhere, or Wilson and Blackett have just made up these stories and things. Or you hear these other stories that there were forgers in the past and all this kind of thing. And then you find older and older records that people have known this. And as the American Traveller said, even the lowest sort of rough lad who's just interested in beer and bread knew these stories and was well aware of them, could read about them. And it's important that we educate ourselves. As it explains in 1984, if you want to destroy a country, you destroy the past, destroy the history, destroy the identity. So I'll just do a quick story of Hugh Gadan here, because listen to this, right? This will shock you, perhaps. This will be the last story of the day. So the race of the Cymry have not always dwelt in the Isle of Britain. In the dim past, they inhabited the summer country. That's Sumer, okay? Sumer it should be, but the English translation's got that wrong here. But they inhabited the summer country called Defrobani. That name I want to look into, all right? Defrobani. Defrobani, right? Defrobani. So I'm not quite sure where that name comes from. If anyone does, please put in the comments or let me know. While they sojourned there, a great benefactor arose among them, to whom the name of Hugh Gadan, Hugh the Mighty, was given. He invented the plough and taught them to cultivate the ground. He divided them into communities and gave them laws whereby fighting and contention were lessened. Under his guidance they left the summer country and crossing the Moor Tauch. Now Moor is sea, I'm not sure what Tauch is. In Coracle came to the Isle of Britain and took possession of it under the protection of God and his peace. Before that time no one lived therein, and it was full of bears, wolves, beavers and bannog oxen. No one therefore has a right to the Isle of Britain but the Cymry, for they first settled it. They gave it the name of the Honey Island on account of the great quantity of honey they found. Britain is a later name. Hugh ruled them with justice, establishing wise regulations and religious rites, and those who, through God's grace, had received poetic genius were made teachers of wisdom. To their songs, history, and truth were preserved throughout the ages until the art of writing was discovered. See, people remembered better before we had writing. As they say, writing allows your memory not to have to remember, it's one of those things. Anyway, sometime after they came to the Honey Island, the Cymry were much troubled by a monster called an Afain, which broached the banks of Llyn Llion, in which it dwelt, and flooded their lands. No spear, dart, or arrow made any impression on its hide, so Hugh Gadan resolved to drag it from its abode, and to place it where it could do no harm. A girl enticed it from its watery haunt, and while it slept with its head on her knees, it was bound with long iron chains. When it woke and perceived what had been done, it got up, and tearing off its sweetheart's breast in revenge, hurried to its old refuge. But the chains are fastened to Hugh Gadan's team of bannog oxen, which pulled it out of the lake and dragged it through the mountains to Llyn y Ffynnon Las, the lake of the Green Well in Cwm Dwli, in Snowdonia, a pass through which they laboured has ever since been called Bulchrúr Yechan, the pass of the slope of the oxen. One of the oxen dropped one of its eyes through its exertions in this defile, and the place is styled Gwain Lygaid Ach, the moor of the ox's eye. A pool was formed there where the eye fell, which is known as Pwll Llygad Ach, the pool of the ox's eye. This pool is never dry, though no water rises in it or flows into it, except when rain falls, and no water flows out of it, but it is always of the same depth, reaching just to the knee joint. The Afanc could not burst the banks of the lake of the Green Well, but it is still dangerous to go near it. If a sheep falls into the lake, it is at once dragged down to the bottom, and is not safe even for a bird to fly across it. And this might all sound a bit weird, and I'll just put some of the wonderful artwork. Claire's marvellous book here. Give you an idea. So it's all fantastic stuff, right? And an amazing coincidence or serendipity is that that story, obviously Hugh Gadan and the migration, is the Cymry coming from the Suma or the Summer Islands, all right, Samaria probably, and but the latter part would seem to be an astrological tale. And you also got as above, so below, sort of mixing up and everything here. And as you'll see when we talk more about Hugh's book and his discoveries, I don't know if Hugh's actually seen this story before. It does tie in with some of the things in his book. So there you go. Right, how long do you think the cake's got to go, Ange? Have we got time for one more story? It's getting late for Arnie. He's falling asleep here, and he wants to do his... so he started... 9 minutes. Great. Okay, perfect. We're going to do one more story. Have the comments there? How's the comments doing, Art?
No, not really, no.
We had, I think, an awful lot of sleep this holiday. Which one should we go for? There was the other one to show was the... Oh, yes. Here we... There's Cadwalla down his goat. There's Tudor up Einion. The Fairy Harp, which I was going to tell to go with the song that Xavi played, because that was the song of the harp, which is the one with the most history in it. There's so many in here. Right, we did Hugh Gadan. All right, let's do the Arthur in the cave. Let's do something about King Arthur. So the other thing you notice in the let's go back to this one actually. In the stories here, where he's wandering around, Arthur gets mentioned all the time. He's always talking about King Arthur. This castle here was part of King Arthur, and his brother built this one. His cousin did that one. All those kind of things. It's not like a sort of crazy myth or something, or the physical evidence all around us, and you can see it. Right, so let's do a quick one on Arthur in the cave, because if you know, we've during the year we followed one of the places we went to, and there's a video, is going to see the cave where Arthur's body was said to have been buried for 3 days, or it might be a different distance. 3 days, as we know, from this time of year is very symbolic. But that's the place where the body was first placed, before being put to his final resting place, on account of Arthur's son being too young and defenceless. And they were worried that the whole kingdom would fall if they knew that a child was in charge. And, actually there's one there. Just a second. There's there's so many. There are so many. Alright, let's do one because it's got Arthur in the title. Once upon a time, a Welshman was walking on London Bridge, staring at the traffic, wondering why there were so many kites hovering about. He had come to London after many adventures with thieves and highwaymen, which need not to be related here, in charge of a herd of black Welsh cattle. He had sold them with much profit, and with jingling gold in his pocket, he was going about to see the sights of the city. He was carrying a hazel staff in his hand. Well, that reminds me, my hazel staff. Yes, please, for you must know that a good staff is as necessary to a drover as teeth are to his dogs. He stood still to gaze at some wares in a shop, for at that time London Bridge was shops from beginning to end, when he noticed that a man was looking at his stick with a long fixed look. The man came after a while to him and asked him where he came from. I come from my own country, said the Welshman, rather surly, for he could not see what business the man had to ask him such a question. Do not take it amiss, said the stranger. If you'll only answer my question and take my advice, it'll be a great benefit to you, can imagine. Do you remember where you cut that stick? The Welshman was still suspicious and said, what does it matter where I cut it? It matters, said the questioner, because there is treasure hidden near the spot where you cut that stick.
I know this.
Yeah, you know this one, yeah. But we tell these stories today, but they miss out some of the key bits. Yeah, you did it in school. That's good, isn't it? But they miss out some of the sort of sharp edges, if you like. The Welshman now understood that he had to deal with a sorcerer, and he was greatly perplexed as to what to do. On the one hand, let's get that on screen, is my new stick for Christmas, with an antler on the top, which is very significant, the antler. Anyway, that's another story for another day. Just to give you a clue that when they were burying Arthur's grandfather, he was pulled by stags. Oh, I got to mention it now, yeah, because it's all to do with Christmas. Oh, I almost forgot this one. And this is an antler for my cousin as a Christmas present. Thank you very much indeed. It's beautiful. By a master craftsman called Di Davis, who's a master staff turner and maker. So it's beautiful. Beautiful.
Nice,
very hard.
polished.
Isn't that hard, Put your head over there a sec. And it's got this sharp point on the edge. Right, the antlers are key, okay? And if you look up, again, it's the power of the Welsh language. Look at the words for antlers, and you'll see that they represent power and the crown and that kind of thing. And they want another meaning as well, which off the top of my head I can't remember, which is a bit of a shame. Well, I'll come back to that. So the antlers are absolutely crucial, and they all goes back to the horns and ancient Babylonian times where you'd see them drawn onto things. And this would probably be the reason why Father Christmas, that's right, yeah, it is Father Christmas is always depicted with stags pulling the reindeer. And if you remember, Arthur's grandfather, Tithfalt, who died defending the crossing at Mathen. God, my brain's tired today. Mathen. When they were moving his body from the battlefield to try and get him to his, to heal or to die, he was pulled by the stags. Or what is more likely, as Wilson Blackett explained, is it would be the antlers attached to the front of the carriage. Because you'd use oxen to pull it, but you'd tie antlers. And again, it all goes back to the same references. And that's probably why the reindeers are always depicted as having antlers. How about them onions on Christmas, eh? Right, so, Right, anyway, we're going to go all the way back. Right, the Welshman and the magician journeyed together to Wales. They went to Craigadinas, the rock of the fortress, at the head of the Neath Valley, near Pont Nedd Fechan. And the Welshman, pointing to the stock or root of an old hazel, said, "This is where I cut my stick." "Let us dig," said the sorcerer. They digged until they came to a broad, flat stone. Prizing this up, they found some steps leading downwards. They went down the steps along a narrow passage until they came to a door. "You are brave," said the sorcerer. "Will you come in with me?" "I will," said the Welshman, his curiosity getting the better of his fear. They opened the door, and a great cave opened out before them. There's a faint red light in the cave, and they could see everything. The first thing they came to was a bell. Now, can anyone tell me what the bell is for? There's always a bell in these Welsh stories, okay? Is it Illtyd's bell? What are we referring to? Why is there always a bell? "Do not touch that bell," said the sorcerer, "or it'll be all over with both of us." As they went further in, the Welshman saw that the place was not empty. There were soldiers lying down asleep, thousands of them, as far as the eye could see. Each one was clad in bright armour. The steel helmet of each was on his head. The shining shield of each was on his arm. The sword of each was near his hand. Each had his spear stuck in the ground near him. And each and all were asleep. In the middle of the cave was a great round table, at which sat warriors, whose noble features and richly dight armour proclaimed that they were not in the role of common men. Each of these two had his head bent down in sleep. On a golden throne on the further side of the round table was a king of gigantic stature and austere, august presence. In his hand, held below the hilt, was a mighty sword with a scabbard and haft of gold, studded with gleaming gems. On his head was a crown set with precious stones, which flashed and glinted like so many points of fire. Sleep had set its seal on his eyelids also. "Are they asleep?" asked the Welshman, hardly believing his own eyes. "Yes, each and all of them," answered the sorcerer. "But if you touch yonder bell, they will awake." "How long have they been asleep?" "For over 1,000 years." "Who are they?" Arthur's warriors, waiting for the time to come when they shall destroy all enemies of the Cymry and repossess the island of Britain, establishing their own king once more at Caerleon. Caerleon, not Roman, apart from the harbour. Oh no, the cake's ready. Who are those sitting at the table? Those are Arthur's knights, and it lists all the names of the knights then. Owen and Urien and Kai and Gwalchmai, Peredur, Geraint, Tristan, they're all there, Bedir, Cunnan, and he got back to the bell. I'm going to have to stop for this one here. My warriors, the day has not come. I've jumped the story now. When the Black Eagle and the Golden Eagle should go to war, it is only a seeker. Are you ready? Is it looking okay?
We haven't checked yet.
Hang on.
Yes.
Oh, excitement. Excitement. Anyway, the warriors go back to sleep, okay? What I'll do is I'll list all these Welsh knights, if you like, first of all. Right, so we're now going to show you, if you remember, the shape is like that, right? And this is, see, the Titian lap. And people say, what is a Titian lap? This nonsense. You have to get the paper out of the way, we can't see. How are we going to do this?
It's hot.
I know it's hot. You're going to have to sacrifice for the cause.
Practice iron palm something in there.
Let me just show my goodness. Get me a plate or something.
Well, there it is. Just to know it's live, right? It's hot. Hang on a second.
Mum, get me the chopping. Mum, pass me that chopping board.
Hang on, there we go. There we go. This is exciting. This is live TV, you know.
This one.
Delia Smith doesn't have his trouble, does she?
Hot.
It ain't too hot. So
There, look at that. Fantastic. There you go. There's your.
It's very delicious.
There's your tissue. There's the symbol. There's the symbol from the Hieroglyphics. How cool is that, eh?
It tastes very good.
And it tastes great too. You can make them with currants, raisins. I almost got cracked with that. There you go. Isn't that amazing? There's a Titian lap, okay? It's fantastic. I think we'll cut the cold one on. We got one we prepared earlier in case it went wrong. We done a proper.
And here's one we made earlier.
And here's one we prepared earlier, as they say on all the best TV cooking programs. Hang on a second. There we go. There, are you going to show that one, Arnie? There we are. And this was actually a little bit
Smaller.
well, it's smaller, but steeper, isn't it? You know, it's more. There you go. And once you see these on the plate, I'm glad we did it because it brings it all to life. Then you realise, yeah, that is where the name comes from. So the other amazing thought is that if you go way back in a few thousand years, maybe I reckon hieroglyphs probably started about 2000 BC, 1900 BC. They were eating cakes like this. Isn't that weird? And speaking a language very much like Welsh. So how bizarre is all that, eh? So I'm just going to quickly list off these. Glasses. What do the glasses? Oh dear. What is anyone left on? Is anyone commenting? They've just given up. The village of Colburn is near Pont Nevechen. Good point. Yes, I've got to go up to Colburn. I've driven past it a few times. And there's lots of other fairy tales. Yes, thank you, Joy Enigma. Yes, William. Hot off the press. Ha ha ha. Yes, it is hot off the press.
This is the cold one.
You get the cold one. Yeah, all right then. Yeah. Oh, hang on a second. We got some cooking tips here, Ange. David Church.
Okay.
Put a deep roasting tin over the teason. Turn over. Put the platter over the roasting tin. Turn over. Cake is the right way up. Oh, I see what you're saying. So when it's really hot, put a lid on it and tip it into the lid. Put a plate on the lid. And then tip it back the other way. Not a lid, a baking tray. Good idea. Good idea. Just get someone else to do it and they can burn your hands. Oh, here we go. This is give you an idea. You can get this idea of the texture. It's like a rock cake, really. It's
I need to tell people.
Sorry, Angie's going to hang on.
I was a kitchen
You got to
disaster.
talk into the mic.
I was a kitchen disaster before.
So come up here and meditate next to these rocks. Then you got other significant two other sites here. You could say it's three. So these are the two pillars.